Morning, Sam. How are you today?
I'm not bad, mate. Not bad. How are you?
Yeah, I'm right. I didn't really think of an intro there. Saturday morning. I shouldn't really be working at all.
Got a nice hot drink there. I just saw it steam
a
up
nice steaming cup of coffee.
Yeah. I saw your glasses go all misty-like. Yeah, very, very sexy. Lovely.
Sexy. Yeah, headlines. We have reports that WWE plan to write off one of their top superstars. We have an update on the Mickie James come and get your black bin bag situation. And a major return took place on last night's SmackDown. We'll tell you more in a bit. Kicking things off with some potentially very sad news indeed, as a top WWE superstar is supposedly going to be written off of WWE TV very, very soon. And it looked like it was being set up on last night's SmackDown. Sam, tell us more.
So Cesaro has been angling for a match with Roman Reigns, and Daniel Bryan and Cesaro were kind of making a big to-do about this, and Roman came out and he was like, you know what? No, I'm the guy that makes the challenges round here, and I challenge Daniel Bryan. Cesaro, that's who I challenge to a match next week, but there is a huge stipulation. So it's for the title, it's for the Universal title, but if Bryan loses, he'll be forced to leave the blue brand. And
so this follows reports that Daniel Bryan is looking to go part-time, take some time off of WWE. He's been saying that in interviews for a little while. He also recently spoke about the fact that he felt a bit sort of disenfranchised, a bit disconnected, I believe his words were, when talking about being in the main event of WrestleMania 37, which I just thought was such a shame, because he is a guy that sort of embodies passion for professional wrestling. If you think of like what a passionate professional wrestler is, you probably picture someone like Daniel Bryan. So that's a shame, and this appears that it could happen as soon as next week. Maybe they'll drag this out to Backlash, but I don't expect him to be on our screens for much longer in a full-time role, which is it's a real shame.
It is, and I know he was talking about trying to work out a way where he can wrestle for WWE and other companies, and I think it's about time that something like this was done, because if he is to stay with the company but be allowed to work elsewhere, just for, a few spots a year, we could have all sorts of things open up and other talent come across from other companies, and, they're just so unwilling to do it, though, aren't they? And it's just such a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. I feel like if he was allowed to go and wrestle for Dragon Gate or Ring of Honor or wherever, that's the sort of thing that might reignite this spark, reignite that passion within Daniel Bryan. So it'd be cool if they do it. We'll see. Time will tell. But reports are, as of now, and there are lots of reports out there, this is the angle that is being introduced to write Daniel Bryan off of TV. So.
Just make sure you tune into the Raw afterwards, where he pops up and gets signed to Raw.
Stop it. Next up, we have an update on the black bin bag situation. Mickie James and numerous others receiving their possessions back from WWE in the post, all wrapped in black plastic. And it's been a very, very controversial couple of days due to this story. Of course, Mark Carrano was released. He was working in talent relations. WWE let him go in response to this, and Mickie James taking it to Twitter. You all know the story, but we've got a little bit of an update now. Mickie James has responded to Stephanie McMahon, who originally said, "I'm embarrassed you or anyone else would be treated this way. I apologise personally and on behalf of WWE. The person responsible is no longer with our company." Mickie James has updated us saying, "Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that, as I am equally embarrassed. I know this wasn't a malicious act. However, it did feel very symbolic to how I was presented in the last 3 years." And she's also followed up with a tweet addressing the situation again, but hopefully putting an end to this situation so we can move on and not talk about bin bags anymore. What did she say, Sam?
So she, it's just one of those notepad posts that you get from the old iPhones, but she says, "I would like to address this one last time, then we can all move on. I have so many amazing things on the horizon. The last thing I desire is to have any of that tainted with ugliness and negativity. I take zero pride or joy in the fact that someone would lose their job ever, especially someone I considered a friend. I'm confident that Vince and the McMahons had no idea this is how we were sent packing. It hurt a fragile me more than 10 years ago when my belongings arrived on my doorstep because WWE was my everything. I've grown as a woman and a person as much as we all have in this business. I'm stronger today than I've ever been and smart enough to know that it wasn't a deliberate attack on me. However, the symbolism cannot be denied. I'm sorry that a thoughtless and tone-deaf act would cost anyone their job, but I'm not sorry that I had the courage to ensure it will never happen to anyone else moving forward. That is my final mark in the company. I've just lost my place. Yeah, that is my final mark in this company. And moving forward, I'm okay with that. And she goes on for a little bit more, but that was sort of the gist of it.
Goes on for a little bit more.
Well, she brings it to a close, is what I meant. But yeah,
that's it. No, I hopefully we can all move on from this. I think Mickie James was really spot on. The symbolism there is there. It's terrible optics for a multi-billion-dollar corporation to be returning people's stuff in a black bin bag. It's not a very nice thing to do after they've just been fired as well. It's just a horrible thing, isn't it? So hopefully they'll, I don't know, grab some of those big blue IKEA bags or something for the future. Yeah,
or just, properly box things, FedEx them back and treat people with some respect.
IKEA bags, actually. Next up, back to SmackDown now, and a big return took place last night. We didn't see him in the flesh, but those vignettes that we've heard about being planned for a little while, they were filmed a couple of weeks ago now, did air. We're talking, of course, about Aleister Black. What happened, Sam?
They're just so well shot. So well shot.
No, they're amazing, man. They spent a pretty penny on these. Hopefully that's an indication that they've got proper plans for him, because they can't be cheap, those animation bits.
He sat in an all-black suit in a dark room, and he's surrounded by candles. Standard Aleister Black stuff, but he's got this big book, and he's reading a story. And it's chapter 1, which is called The Dragon. So I'm assuming there's going to be multiple parts of this leading up to his big return. But he wants us all to know the truth. He tells us about his childhood, where his dad used to take up to funerals all the time, because that's just what families do. He learned about life and death, and he was taught to become the dragon. And then he goes, I could never be a weak-minded fool like you. And he starts going off at us, the audience. We, as the audience, lie and deceive people. What we, or whoever he's addressing anyway, what they do is vile and should be scorched from the earth to make room for more fertile things. Now, everything down to his aesthetic. As you said as well, I'll just add, there were animated segments going over the top of it. It looked really high-end and really polished. But everything down to the glasses and the suit and everything, it's got this air of Joseph Seed, who's like the enigmatic cult leader from
I saw
Far
everybody
Cry.
tweeting about Joseph Seed. I know who Jim Jones, David Koresh are. I get that.
Kind of
Why is
a
Joseph
similar
Seed
vibe.
the go-to now?
Well, he has very similar hair and very similar sunglasses, and it's purely an aesthetic thing, Adam. Don't worry.
Your
list of cult leaders can stay intact for now.
Good.
Yeah.
Big respect. He looked really different to me. I don't know if it was just. It looked like he was playing on 2K20 and they stuck big head mode on. Did you think it just looks like?
I think whenever you have a suit, and I guess he's in a very dark room in a black suit in a black chair, surrounded by nothing but darkness with a couple of candles. His body's just going to look so much smaller because it's going to blend in, right? So his head's just going to stand out.
But it's cool. It's genuinely. I'm very, very excited to see him back. It looks like they're properly investing in him, and it was a great little vignette, great promo by Black. And so well, time will tell as to how they use him and everything. But I, for one, am very, very excited about this.
Yeah, I'm chuffed.
And finally, ending on some really sad news indeed, Steve Mongo McMichael has revealed that he is battling ALS. He did an interview and a little sort of mini documentary with the Chicago Tribune. And he's been talking about his battle with this incurable nerve disease. We all know, obviously, Mongo McMichael from his days as a commentator and then wrestler in WCW. And he's somebody that, I don't want to go into like the negatives or anything, but you sometimes sort of, people in the internet wrestling community or whatever poke a bit of fun at, just because it's Mongo and all that. But I've never heard a bad word about the guy. Whenever I hear people talk about him, even with his lack of wrestling prowess, they always talk about what a nice guy he was. And so this is absolutely, because it's just an evil disease.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's the same thing that Jason Becker, a very famous guitarist, has. He's able to continue to make music, but he has to conduct using his eyes, and it's horrible, you know. And then Steve McMichael, of course, the football player, legendary team, like he was part of the legendary 1985 Chicago Bears. Like he was always apparently such a big personality, and just. Yeah, it's
awful. Apparently, he's already requiring help and assistance at all time. He's lost about 60 pounds as well, and he revealed his battle in order to sort of close out his time in the public eye. So all we can do, obviously, it's an incurable disease. It's a horrible, horrible disease. But all of us here at Cultaholic send all of our love to Mongo McMichael.